If I had to start a real estate photography business completely from scratch in 2026, there are quite a few things that I would do differently today than when I first started doing this full-time about 15 years ago. And there are some costly mistakes that I would avoid. First up would be to hone my skills before putting any concentration into marketing. Because as I learned the hard way is that sometimes the first impression is your only impression. It's your only chance to really prove that you can do this work. If you don't impress them right off the bat, then that could be a customer that you never get. But there is this chicken and egg paradox of, well, how do you get good? How do you hone your skills? Because you have to be able to show that you can get gigs before you can actually get gigs. Well, this is where you do a slow start. We're going to talk more about some of the marketing mistakes in getting clients also. But one of the big things is starting slow. Doing something at home, doing shoots for friends' houses, even though they're not for sale, just say, I would like to be able to shoot your kitchen. Even offer to clean it if you have to. But you want to be able to slowly build up. It also slowly builds up your portfolio. Now, marketing is very important, and there is a time and a place for that. But for starting out, the first thing, work on those skills first. Coming in at the second thing that I would definitely do differently today, and that's that I would pick my clients by doing targeted marketing. You don't want to just blast to the masses, and you don't want to leave it to chance. Instead of just sending out a large email campaign or cold calling, you want to first be able to seek out ideal clients that can sustain your real estate photography business and then target your marketing to that audience. Now, this does require some research on your end so that you can see if, for instance, realtors are going to be worthwhile, if they are big enough hitters out there that they can give you repeat work. They're not just someone that decided to do this as kind of a side hustle and they're getting 1 or 2 gigs a year. And another big thing to remember is not to reach out to other clients too early. For instance, a lot of photographers getting into real estate will reach out to architectural and design clients a little early, thinking that, well, I'm not getting really any traction here with the realtors, so I'm going to reach out to remodel companies, hospitality, things of that sort. But that also is putting the cart before the horse. We have to crawl before we walk, before we run. And most often it is best to stick in the residential listing market first. Stay there for a while to really build your skill set, honing those skills once again before moving on to other clients. It isn't also a matter of just these are just the clients that I'm going to work with. It's knowing that if you target this type of audience that you're more likely to attract them. And those are the ones too that you would reach out to. Now, there will be other clients that come along. That's the idea of marketing, right? But you don't just depend on that. When they do come along, if you've been doing targeted marketing correctly, then you will have the proper clients coming to you and you won't be desperate. If you're not getting any work at all and you do an email blast and you start getting calls, you'll be desperate and you'll want to take on potentially clients that might not sustain your business. Once you've identified the right clients, the next question becomes, why would they hire you compared to someone else? And this is where skills matter. If you do want to improve your skills, I do have courses and books also on real estate photography, and I have links to all of that material down in the description for this video. Once honing your skills and really finding your target market is to avoid a big mistake that all of us tend to face, and it's known as the illusion of reach. This is where we often confuse social media likes and comments with effective marketing. But social media is so broad, it really doesn't fit into your local market. Instead, you really need to keep things local. Social media does have a place when it comes to marketing, but it's not really effective at getting your local clients. when you do your research for your targeted marketing, you do want to find people that are local, for instance, like realtors who are heavy hitters, ones that will give you repeat work. You want to be able to find, if you're getting into architectural and design photography, you want to find builders and remodel companies that do get a lot of work. They're well established also. And the same thing for other genres, even designers, interior work. You want to make sure that these people are established, but more importantly, don't just require on social media to find them. That's the illusion of reach. You want to make sure that you do the research and keep it local. Something else that I would do very differently today than when I first started out, and it's only been in recent years that we are even concerned about this, and that's the overuse of AI. Now, AI is very helpful in a lot of aspects of real estate photography, but as you've seen, and probably also from a recent video that I did, is that AI has become more of a burden and liability recently in real estate photography. And I have a link, by the way, to this particular video down in the description. So even though AI is helpful, and there are some liability issues to also be aware of when it comes to real estate photography, it's really important to not rely on it because it will get things wrong, at least at times. This is why, when you're first starting out, don't rely heavily on AI. Learn how to implement it as time goes on. First, though, learn the skills that matter that you don't have to rely on AI for. This allows you in a pinch to be able to do any type of work. AI is just another tool, but also are the other editing options and techniques that we've had for many, many years. Learn both, and you'll have a broader skill set when it comes to doing just about anything in real estate media. Another thing I would do differently is to not invest money into expensive gear. The best camera won't get you the best photos. Quality is important, but clients also care greatly about reliability, consistency, and turnaround. Over the years, I've been using Nikon Z5 bodies, and despite what everybody else says about those being consumer cameras, they're not. Full frame, 24 megapixel, does everything that I need a real estate photography camera to do, and I also don't spend a lot on lenses. I prefer third-party lenses, and I've got a whole lot of videos on various gear that I recommend for doing real estate photography on my channel. I'll put some links to that also down in the description. But you don't have to break the bank. In fact, it'll work against you. You have to remain profitable. Having all the bells and whistles on these great new cameras and the flagship products made by all the big camera manufacturers and lens manufacturers, they won't get you clients. You need to be able to do good work. And once again, we've heard this before many times, is that it's not the camera, it's you that takes the really good picture. Now, there is a compromise where having good gear can make your life easier and your workflow more efficient. But it's a balance. You don't want to invest in flagship cameras. You can get by with good cameras. The next big thing I would do differently is to think more quickly about bringing on other services besides just photos, because you do need to prove that you are a full service provider. Floor plans are very easy using Cubicasa. Video is really not that difficult. Drone, that's even easy to do if you have a partner like I do. I don't do my own drone, but you can also do virtually staging easy as well. For instance, on virtual staging, I just use applydesign.io. I have also tutorials here on this channel on doing that. But the fact is, if you just want to take photos, then you're not as apt to get hired to do bigger jobs. A lot of times realtors, even for some simple jobs, they'll say, well, I also want a video along with this, or I need a floor plan. Sometimes also, yes, I need drone, especially for luxury properties, gotta have it. If you don't offer these services, you're probably not going to be the first person that they call. Doesn't mean you have to do all of this stuff. As long as you are connected with other photographers that provide these services, then you can also share some of the workload. But the biggest thing that I would do a lot differently today if I had to start a real estate photography business from scratch in 2026 is I would price all of my services a lot higher. If all you do is compete on price with keeping your prices low, then you'll get caught in a trap. Low prices attract budget hunter clients that are often the most demanding. And by charging too little, you'd have to take on more work just to break even, which leads to burnout. Instead, when you price your services higher, then you attract clients who appreciate value in the quality they pay for. You can then spend more time on quality and service, which then grows your real estate photography business. And bear in mind that you don't need to get every client. You just need to get the right clients. If I were to sum all of this up into one simple thing, that if I were starting a real estate photography business in 2026 from scratch, I would highly concentrate on being good before being busy. Because once you get good, being busy becomes a whole lot easier.